Hi, I'm the creator of Hareva Olivia, and this is As She Was. Before I tell you about who I am, I should tell you about who I was and where I came from. My name was Olivia Rendon. I grew up in a middle-class family as an only child to a single mother. My mother was raised with caution and care. I imagined Demeter smiles upon her as much as Persephone smiles upon me. Our relationship was how you might have expected, given the comparison. Boundless energy against immovable force. One had to give at some point. Or, as you might expect it, I thought I'd find a Hades. I thought he might look garish, beaten, but silently he'd be sweet, abundant with love for me. In my desperate search, I latched myself onto the closest looking individual to my ideal. He was dark, in style and skin, but he loved me. He fell in love with me, but quickly fell out. This was the first time I'd felt rage in love, rage in passion, rage in men, who I'd never experienced before. I met men for the first time through him, and I hated them. But he was smarter than that. He'd offered me a nectarine fainting as a pomegranate. I ate the whole thing, diving into him, giving him my whole entirety, tightly gripping his arms, my newfound freedom from Demeter, desperate to find my individuality in him. I gave time, I gave effort, I gave love and love and love in exchange for potential attention. But this poor boy was no god. He was a boy, incapable of caring for the needs of a goddess who didn't know she was a goddess. This bred the concept that men were deeply incompetent, incapable of supporting my needs. Unfortunately, boy after boy, man after man, would prove my opinions fact, my giving and their lacking. I'd do my best to behave, remain kind and calm, loving and empathetic, but I was furious. I'd turn quickly, wrathful, rageful, passionate, deep, cutting, wounded, looking for blood, vengeance, mutual pain. I was devastated and frustrated at my disappointment, and I wanted them to feel it too, to feel how let down I was by their inadequacy. But I was sorry. I was sorry they weren't enough, that I couldn't guide them to be who and what I needed. I was dying to love them, but they were unworthy. They left me lonely. It was me, my love, and the earth. This is when she came to me. She felt my rage, my love, my passion, my quest for peace. She saw the streams of love I channeled into her creation. She'd seen my face as I ate her plums and peaches and nectarines, lighting up with eccentricism and love, flirting. I heard her. I heard her in squeaking branches that flow in the breeze, in the wind that rose to kiss me. I'd found love. I'd found divinity in her, Persephone, goddess of life and wrath, love and death. She visited me in a dream. She brought me before her in fall, on the brink of her descent. There were no words, only locked eyes. We gazed, full of love, full of wrath, but my sorrow was lonely. In the moment I felt it, it was cured. She graced my face, holding it in her palms, radiating heat I couldn't describe. Her kiss blew my vision out of my body. I grew tall with her, soaring over the land, sprouting short horns, incisors, red eyes, black wings, and an nymph's tail. I watched my body change and grow alongside her. Then I watched her surpass me, envelop me in her hollow body as she began to walk through and past me. I was afraid, I admit, when her persons passed on the horizon, but I knew I would never be without her presence again. I stayed in this place for a while, felt it, this garden where I'd grown into a giant. I looked at my feet to see new growth, fig trees, rows of watermelon and honeydew, banana trees that I doubled in size. I sat down, careful of my new extremities, and picked the fruit. I ate hesitantly. It was sweeter, but more bitter than fruit I'd had before. Something told me, feast, so I did, eating this fruit that couldn't sustain my size. But a voice told me it was love, so I ate. The food began to regrow as quickly as I ate it. It began to grow in size, too, coming to meet me as I pulled raspberries and cucumber and lemon and broccoli into my mouth. It began to grow warm, not hot, as I ate. It began to chant to me, harvest, harvest, harvest. Before I knew it, I was entranced. eating feverishly, crying, heart so abundantly full of love from this food. My arms began to grow tired of the repetitive motion of reaching and pulling from vines and branches to my mouth, my jaw aching from tough apple and pear meat, lungs gasping for air from the incessant swallowing. My vision refocused on the world around me. I was 5'4" again, still with eyes and teeth and tail. I was deep in a forest of food that grew to my ambition, that outgrew me. It was in that moment I realized I was blessed. I was of God, a God myself. I created my fortune as I needed it. If I asked, nay. If I wanted, it shall appear. I was a harvester. I was made new. I was Hareva.